See, resume recording. Morning, everybody. Looking forward to this one. We've got the Discovery Trial update this morning. We'll kick it off here with Drew. Drew, if you want to share your screen and have fun with it.
Yep. How does that look?
It's coming. There it is.
Okay. Um, all right. So this is the trial we're doing down here at the Rodale site north of Marion. Um, I'm Drew Erickson, the farm manager. I think I've virtually met just about everybody on this call over the last couple of years of joining these. But we are super excited that we finally got this trial going. I am very thankful that Ag Venture Alliance was willing to put up their money. I don't know if I ever mentioned I've been trying to get these trees planted since I moved here about 6 years ago, and it's hard to find people that are willing to fund a project that might not have results for a couple of years. But I think with adding chickens, or I should say adding livestock, that we will have results about the economics of keeping livestock in your orchard, and we'll have some soil health results. We just won't have chestnut yields right away. But this is just more of an update. I just wanted to show everybody a slideshow of where we're at and what we've done so far. So we will have time this winter to kind of go over the numbers and do some economic analysis. And we typically do all our soil testing in the spring. So we will do testing between the graze and no graze plots.
Hey Drew, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Were you saying like in the sort of organic world or certain world, like finding funding for a crop that might not come in for 10 years, there's not an appetite for that?
Yeah, just in the grant funding world. So like
Yeah.
all of our projects are grant supported.
Yeah.
And it was fairly easy to get funding for vegetable crops and row crops where you know, we have data but at the
And you
end
can
of
put a
every
budget out
year.
for, yeah, yeah.
But orchards are a little trickier. I'm amazed at how Savannah Institute got the momentum they have, because all of their projects are lifetime projects. But now that we've broken ground on this, I think we'll be able to attract more funding and do more economic or more data analysis and deeper testing. So this is what the project looks like. I showed this at the last meeting, but I don't know that everybody was there. I oriented the map, the research map to the side, which is a little bit interesting, but you will see why in the next slide. So this is just the map that we created before we started the project. I think we turned in a copy of this to the Discovery Trial um, grant application. But the most important part is that the red plots are grazed and then the blue plots will be mowed, or I guess more like traditional orchard management. We're doing chickens this year, but we left it at grazed because we would like the opportunity to potentially put sheep in there, or waterfowl. But for now, it's chickens because that was easy and we weren't worried about them damaging the trees. Um, I guess what else I'll say is that in research, you always want to have a guard row. Otherwise, this outside row might not really represent a larger orchard. So there is a guard row all the way around, and then there's four replicates of each treatment. So we've got four grazed and then four mowed. And then you can see sometimes it's neat when you get these drone shots and it looks just like we had envisioned from overhead. In this picture, you can see we are on, so we started grazing this one and moved our way through, and you can see that the coop and fencing is in the last plot. This picture was from 2 days ago. Um, the other interesting thing you can see here is that they had just moved from this plot, and you can see the impact on the ground. This plot was 2 weeks ago, and then they had grazed this plot 3 weeks ago, and you almost can't see the impact anymore. Um, So the other part of this is that the chickens will offset the cost of string trimming around the trees. So we will have to mow and string trim around the ungrazed trees. Whereas if we keep the chickens going, we shouldn't have to do any string trimming around the grazed trees. My coworker does drone shots, and I got carried away just because I think they paint such a good picture of how this thing ended up looking. Just a close up of that plot. Again, we had just moved the chickens off like 2 days before he took this picture. Um, you can see it's there's still some cover crop in here, but down here is where we had a bigger coop that's harder to move. I'll get into that a little bit more in depth. And then you can see Audra out here doing the morning chores, bringing food and water out. So we do food and water every day. We move this white coop every day. And then we try to move these two units every other day. They're heavy, so it takes this one a single person can move. These two take a team of people to move because they're heavy. Again, sorry, I got carried away with the drone shots. The Nathan was trying to get a picture of the birds out running around, but they thought the drone was a hawk, so they all hid underneath cover, which is one of the reasons we have this cover out here. Like we have three ways for birds to hide. We started with 40, we're down to about 37. But that's one of their layers of protection. So they've got the fence, they've got coops with automatic doors, and then they can hide under these structures if a owl or a hawk flies over. Some close-up pictures. So this is the chickshaw that a neighbor was willing to let us borrow when we realized our existing coop wasn't big enough for 40 birds. Again, this one's super lightweight. We put blocks on it just in case a windstorm kicks up, but one person can easily move that one. This one is both feeding a feed and water station as well as just more defense from hawks. So if you don't have some sort of cover, your chickens will just hide under the coop all day, and then you'll get that big impact there. By having some structures out there, they're more willing to go out and graze. And you can see, especially when we're out there with them, they'll just go run through the clover and pick bugs and chew the leaves and trample stuff down. I don't know if hoof impact is the right word, but they do squash stuff down a bit.
Drew, can you stay on that picture there? Could you improvise something on the tree tubes there to simulate that? And then maybe they'd
To
hang
get more
around.
shade out there.
Yeah.
Well, eventually it'll do it on its own. So
Okay.
when I get closer to the end, I'm gonna talk about this is our first batch of chickens. And we've had
Yeah.
to rethink some things, and thanks to this discovery trial grant, we're able to make some modifications that I'll show you.
Hey, Drew.
Yes.
Question. Whenever I see animals or chickens or whatever out there, I always think mob grazing. Is there, looking at where it's grazed, it looks like they're pretty intense in some spots, or is that just the shade? Is that the shading under your coops? But would you ever envision having the daily move be much tighter in space? How many,
Yes. Yes.
how many square feet per chicken? Do you have a rule about how many square feet per chicken do you need, or pounds of chicken per acre, I guess, to use the mob grazing metric?
Yeah, I think so. This first time around, we wanted to do what we could with the equipment we had. So we already had all the fencing, the coops. Again, the neighbor let us borrow that coop, no cost. So I have done this before, but Sean and Nathan hadn't. So Sean wanted to see before we invest a bunch of money, let's give it a try with what we got. So I will get to the modification we're going to make here in the next couple weeks, actually at the end of this. So
And by the
I'll
way,
get
yeah,
go ahead.
your pictures are great. Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, a picture paints 1,000 words, but I would say a drone shot really does it. I mean, that bird's eye view, you can really get a great sense of the impact on the land. And sorry, to answer your question, yes, that the really hard impact was under that big red coop. This is just more close up. So again, this is right under the red coop where we weren't able to move it as often, and you can see they really knocked that cover crop down too hard. I think I'm going to have to reseed these little patches. This cover crop is 3 different kinds of clover and perennial rye. So I still have some bags of it. It should be easy enough to go rake some in. And then this is a mowed plot, so this plot will never get grazed. We will be using the Greenfield robot to mow this. They created a map for us, so we're trying to always incorporate technology wherever we can. But that's another reason we're making a modification to the way we do chickens. I can't have that Greenfield bot go out there when we have this big electric netting fencing structure out there, because they would have to recreate the map every time we do that, or we'd have to move the chickens completely off.
Drew, how long was the big red coop over that bare spot?
In that case, it was probably there for 3 days. So our goal is to move it every other day, but sometimes over a weekend, if only one person's coming in to check the food and water, it's really difficult. I can move it by myself, but I don't ask that of our intern, who's 110 pounds maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's
so
bare. It's bare because the chickens ate it, and they grazed under the coop rather than out in the open.
I think it's bare because they spent so much time squishing it down and pooping on it that all that high nitrogen chicken poop just smothered it. They probably ate some of it, but I think it's more from them just like hanging out there all day.
Huh. Interesting.
So this is more a picture of the trees. So you can see some of them have started to climb out of the tree tube. We got this advice to put, this is actually a loofah, like a shower scrubby, that if you cut one of those open, it's a tube of insect netting. So we got this advice to put loofahs over all the tubes to keep Japanese beetles out. And that's also why there's duct tape. There's big holes along the side. So the intern, I will call her Audra. Don't need to call her the intern. She went ahead and put all these loofahs on the tubes and then put the duct tape to keep Japanese beetles out. Otherwise, these Plantra tree tubes seemingly have been great. So another one that started to poke its head out of the tube. And then this one, I pulled the tube off just so you guys could see what the tree looks like inside that tube. I think at some point we need to pull all the tubes and just do some corrective pruning. But for this year, I'm just letting them go to try to get as many leaves, leaves or solar panels. So, but we will need to encourage them to go straight up. So I assume that's what's happening. The ones that are coming out are the ones that just kind of self-pruned and got a better start. But this is some work that we'll do this winter. We'll pull all the tubes and make some corrective cuts. We've gotten some really great publicity from this study. A gentleman actually, so we lease land from the Indian Creek Nature Center. The former director who's standing here, Rich Patterson, is very interested in chickens and works with Hoover's Hatchery. So Hoover's Hatchery has come down several times to do video blogs. Rich Patterson wrote an article for his online blog called Winding Pathways about our chicken project. And then just recently, he asked if he could interview my daughter for the subject was kind of what's it like to be a teenager who's forced to work on your dad's farm through the summer. So she begrudgingly did that interview. I'm just going to play a really short clip. I hope it comes through. Otherwise, I'll just skip it.
No sound, Drew.
No sound? Okay, I'll skip it, but you get the idea. So she was, again, begrudgingly willing to do that. But the press we've been getting from this project is great. It was a point of interest at our field day. We had about 110 people at that event, and everybody got to see the orchard. For years I've made this argument that livestock is how we're going to get the next generation back to the farm. I would add to that now technology. I think robots really draw kids to farms or young people. But you can see here, my daughters will come up here anytime I say we got to go work with the chickens. Had a big storm blow through about 2 weeks ago, and I needed to come up here to check on things, and both of them just hopped right in the truck and said, let's go check it out. Okay, so I wanted to just give you a couple of shots of this big red coop that we have. It's on truck tires, got a steel frame underneath. Lauren and Bob, you've seen this throughout the years around the farm. This project just requires so much moves that we found the limitations of this coop. So just a quick crunch of the numbers about how much time it's taking us to move this coop and then move all this fencing. So again, our goal is to move this coop every other day, but ideally I'd be moving it every day. We just can't do that with the staffing that we have. And then we move all this fencing once a week. We move this piece every other day. And then, like I said, we move that white one every day. So by the time you get through a season of 3 months of raising these heritage breed chickens for meat, that ends up being a lot of time to move all these structures. And again, not just one person, but 3 of us have to get out here at least to move this coop. So that was the big learning moment for us for this first round of chickens. So we ended up investing a bit of the money from the discovery trial. Oh, here's the other point I was going to make. When we do this, not all the chickens are going in the coop at night. So we end up having to just open the fences, and then here's Sean being a chicken cowboy and having to herd the chickens back into the next fence. So we just we have to drop the fences and open them up and move the chickens. So not ideal. So the solution we came up with, and this is a suggestion I've gotten multiple times, and there's a lot of other chicken keepers that do this. We invested in 2 of these chicken tractors. So we're going to eliminate the fencing altogether. All the food and water will be contained in this unit. And then Bob, back to your question, I think this will create more of a mob grazing effect where we've got up to 30 birds. I think 32 is the max for broilers. So we can have all 32 birds. So we've got 2 of these, so we can increase from 40 to 60 and reduce the labor by not having to move all that fencing and not having to get multiple people out. It should be really easy for one person to pick this up and move it. We may end up having to move it. I think once a day is probably fine. We might adjust our stocking number to make it a once a day move. And then we'll do the math to find out like how at what scale would this become profitable with our small plot and our limited needs. We don't necessarily need to turn it into a profitable venture. We just need to find out how many chickens would somebody need to make this into a profitable venture on a larger chicken. It looks like Josh has a question. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I was just curious. I saw the Porta Coop. I know Stock Cropper's working on some different chicken things. What are your thoughts on using that, or is it just something that's kind of too expensive to trial on?
I think the Stock Cropper is cool, but then again, now you're having to get a tractor out into that field every day to move that unit because it's way too big for somebody to pick it up and move it. Whereas this one, and even some of the larger versions of this, the wheels are on a jack, and so this one is really simple. You pick up the handle and it automatically puts the wheels down. I like the Stock Cropper, but I think it's better in between rows of corn. And I don't know if to really make that feasible, you have to have a dedicated tractor or a robot pulling it through the field. To me, that seems like a lot of time driving out to hook up to move something every day. but yeah, I like the idea. I've seen a stalk cropper going in between corn, and I think that's actually what Robbie Jewell is doing, but I won't steal his thunder. Um, so yeah, two of these are on the way, and this last slide. So for the rest of the year, this is what we plan on doing. We've got those two new coops on the way. We are raising one more batch of birds. We're going to start with 20 in each of those coops just to see how it goes. We're going to do Cornish cross this time because we're a little bit tight on time. We want to get them out of here by the end of October. Cornish cross are 8 weeks versus those Red Rangers that are more like 16 weeks. We're going to put more wood chips down on all the trees. And then once in between batches of chickens, we're going to use the Greenfield bot to mow the entire orchard. Then this winter, when things slow down, we'll start doing the economic analysis. In the spring, we will start doing soil testing and then analyze that between plots. Next year, our aim is to do 3 rounds of chickens. We couldn't do that this year because we had to get the trees planted and wanted to get them a little bit established. Next year, we're considering adding sheep if we can figure out an efficient way to do that. Probably not 3 times, but at least once we'd like to get sheep in there. We can use that same electric netting. We'll have to come up with a simple shade structure or something for them. We will replant any trees that don't overwinter. At this point, only 2 of the 144 trees haven't survived, so we're doing really good as far as our first planting of trees. That's kind of it. If Lauren, I don't know if we want to let Robbie go and then ask questions, or if
I had one
take.
just quick question there on your chicken tractor. How are you going to get them up to the tree then, or?
So we will pull those tractors right down the sides of the trees. So we'll just have them on either side of the orchard.
Okay, so run them on either side of the tree at the same time.
Yes. And we could even snake in between the trees. So there's a lot of options for us to get them right up to the base of the tree.
Yep.
Once the trees canopy out, we would consider putting them back out, but still moving those coops every day in the fencing. But we think they'll forage a lot better once there's a canopy from the trees themselves.
Okay.
Hey,
All
Drew,
right.
I
Go
did
ahead.
have this is Jordan with Ag Ventures. Just to add on to that stock cropper comment. So they do have a different version. I think they call it the Nano that is autonomous and it moves on its
Oh.
own. It's built for chickens.
Okay, neat.
And then they also have a drive unit that you can basically bolt to any type of chicken coop and it'll pick up the front edge and drive it forward and set it down on its own, like from an iPhone app. So it would be, just want to make sure you were aware of that is all. So
Yeah, thank you. We're very interested in utilizing whatever technology is available. So I will get on their website. I'm assuming they have a website if they have robots.
they do, but he's still early kind of in like the availability of some of these things. So we could also get you in touch with Zach, the founder, if you need that. So
that'd be cool. They're in Wisconsin, is that right?
Northern Iowa. They're up here.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Up here by us. So
yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, sounds good.
Drew, I was kind of expecting to see mulch around the trees. Is that not a
there is mulch, but that clover, that I think the red clover especially kind of crowds the mulch. So if I pulled that back away from the tree, you would see the little pile of wood chip mulch. And then again,
Okay.
for our goals for the rest of the year, we're going to put down another layer of mulch. And we actually got some biodegradable paper mulch that's for vegetable gardeners. And I think we're going to do a layer of that in there too, just to help further suppress the weeds. We're certified organic, so we can't spray around the base of each tree. But we will try to reduce that competition right at the base of the tree.
Yeah, how far out does that go?
Well, we probably have like a 2-foot
Okay.
circle around the base of the tree. Diameter, not radius.
Sure.
4 or 5 scoops out the back of the truck.
Okay.
And I think the
I
paper will
requested
go a
that.
long way.
And then the other question, can you tell anything already in the trees or the cover crop growth or anything just observationally?
Um, no, I mean, I think our biggest observations have just been the impact of the chickens under that coop. And so that's why we're going to make that modification and build those new coops. Again, we're going to do soil testing in the spring. I think we will definitely see differences in the soil testing. I mean, chicken poop is very high nitrogen. But what we do pretty extensive testing, so I'm curious, like I don't think we do the the microbial analysis, the higher level soil testing, I think is where we'll see some differences too, not just NPK.
Cool, thank you.
I don't think we do Haney test, but we do something very similar. I can't remember exactly which one we do.
Drew, what do y'all have out there for clovers? You said you had 3 different clovers.
Yeah, so red, white, and crimson. And the crimson came on really strong this spring, but I think it's an annual, so that's probably it for the crimson clover. And then the red and the white will persist. Eventually it will just be white clover and perennial rye. But my book on holistic orchard keeping recommended we do all 3 because each one does something slightly different for the microbes.
Is it Ladino or is it Dutch White or what kind of white
I
clover do you have?
I think it's the brand from Welter's called Rivendale, but I could get back to you on that.
It's a Dutch White.
That
Uh,
sounds right.
Plan on reseeding the perennial rye in 3 years after it peters out.
If we need to, yeah. If it ends up being a mat of white clover, I don't know. Is that problematic?
It could be with chickens just because of that high nitrogen and phosphorus, um, but I guess you'll just have to pay attention to your soil tests.
Yes. I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
Any other quick questions, comments, or we'll hand it over to Robbie. And we can always come back then, so. Or did we lose? Where'd Robbie go? There he is. You ready to go, Robbie? Share your screen and see if you got your slides done you were worried about. No sound, Robbie.
Lauren, while he pulls up his sound, I will send you all those YouTube videos when Hoover's Hatchery gets them published.
Cool.
They're close to you all. They're up in Rudd, which I think is only a couple miles from Mason City there.
Yep. There, you muted yourself, Robbie. Do you want to just leave this one on and then call in on your phone? If that works. I can send you a link quick on your phone if you want. Any other quick questions for Drew while we're figuring this out?
Drew, does the name Graham Thompson mean anything to you?
I haven't heard that one.
Okay, he's got the perfect solution for you. I will put you in contact with him.
Very good. Graham Thompson?
Yeah.
Now mute your other device.
Can you hear me now, Lauren?
Yep.
Anything?
We can hear you now.
Okay, good. Jesus. Every time I have technological problems here, technology, not my thing. Share button, is that just right down here then?
Yeah, you probably want to share from your other one unless you're doing it all from the one now.
I exited out of that other one.
Okay.
Let me see. This computer was a little slower. That's why I switched to my other one.
Now you froze up. Still there, you're moving again.
Okay. Window. Huh. They're not letting me share here, Lauren. What the heck? Tab.
Oh, if I could snipe your Snapchat picture, I could pop that up for you. You can just talk
Yeah.
through it too.
It should be just that share button down below, right?
Should be.
Yeah, something's not going through here. Window pops up, but it doesn't allow me to share.
Do you have it open on your screen?
Let me see here. Wait here. I might got it.
There
Anything?
you go.
Okay.
Order. It's coming up.
We're going to get through this.
It says it's coming up. There we go. Something's loading. There you go.
Okay, you can see that now?
Yep.
Okay. Let me go back
Yep.
here.
I think it's the picture you had on Snap last night. So,
Yeah. Okay, and that's full screen, Lauren?
yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so we actually just got these birds out here yesterday. So this is all fairly recent stuff. I don't know where, let's see here. Where do I want to start here? I'm gonna start from the beginning here. Got this planted on June 14th and put in a 96-day corn, these 2 strips. 12-row corn planter, and then 30 foot of alfalfa. Here's it in the end, how that all turned out. Let's see. To the bird, I'm just going to go in chronological order here, just easiest anyway. Birds were placed on June 20th. I guess I'll start over and say that this all got pushed back. I mean, these birds, we scheduled them about a week late, and then the hatchery called and said that they were another 2 to 3 weeks behind schedule, and so everything got pushed back drastically. So that wasn't good. So that kind of screwed up my whole plan or initial plan to start the birds early and then get them out when the corn was about knee high. That was the whole idea behind getting the birds out, to help with some of the organic weeding, which we obviously did not get to. June 24th, corn's coming up. Decent amount of weeds there. Some alfalfa that didn't get killed with tillage. July 5th, we definitely have weeds coming. So this is the reason I shared this picture, is that this is by a CRP field, and we had some gopher problems. And so the gophers got in there and destroyed some of this crop, as well as just recently I viewed that there was a bunch of deer that, destroyed part of the other end there. So wildlife have been rough on this, to say the least. So our crop yields are going to be skewed. Okay, so July 6th, same day. These birds are 2 weeks old. In the end, it's rough. These birds are growing about a pound a day. In the end, it kind of seems like. So they're roughly pound a week. Sorry. So then here's the setup for, I did interseed since I didn't know if I was going to do this anyway, but since we didn't get the birds in there on time, I thought, well, let's, put something in the rows that they may be able to eat or whatever. And so I interseeded. I think the mix was annual ryegrass, red clover, and rapeseed for this. And that's just a Gandy air box. It just blows the seed on the ground. Here's the picture on the bottom left is before I go through, and then top left there is after, and then on the right there you can kind of see some of the seeds that are sitting on the surface. What happens with that hiller on the cultivator, it pushes a whole bunch of dirt up into the row there, and then it kind of trickles back down over the top of some of the seed. Not all the seed, but some of it. It's the best thing that we have right now. I mean, getting it in the ground would be obviously better, but we just don't have that capability. So this works. This is how it looked August 2nd there, 2.5 weeks after the seeding. Not really impressed. I wanted to get out there earlier, but it just didn't happen. It seemed like everything got pushed back this year. Decent establishment, but I'd like to see better than that. And it seems like, yeah, if I could get out there, if it was when it was below knee high, then I think that would be best. But that didn't work. It seems like when I get out later, it tends to shade out that area there, and it doesn't get germinated very well. And then I'll show a later picture here of what it looks like yesterday. August 4th here, that they're about 6 weeks old. Keep in mind that this barn here is about, I think, 150-ish feet long by almost 50 feet wide. I'll talk about that later within the size of paddock that we give them out in the corn or out in the strips. Everything is automatic within these barns, feeders, water lines, and everything. So it makes it fairly easy to do that. We do have some fans in this barn, but this is kind of our smaller barn that we don't use very much, which worked out pretty good just for these 2,000 birds here. And then so this is the setup for our portable structure. I think the last time we talked, it's basically a Joel Salatin style millennial feather net. Usually he uses it for layers. But we obviously wanted to use this for the turkeys here. But so these are just some old waters that we had laying around. They're actually Tom waters. They allow more water or more access, more cup space there for water. And so we ran a 3/4 inch line just on the side of the barn there, inside the barn. That's the middle picture there. And then on the right side, we'll get to, I think there's a better picture here next, but this is on the reel that I had for the hose reel. I needed a quick coupler on there so that I could disconnect and connect when I wanted to reel out this reel to get to the water line. And then on the bottom right there, there's a quick coupler that we use. I use them for cattle and whatnot, but I figured that was going to get snagged on the corn or anything. So I put a pottle over the top of that just to get by there. Here's a better picture of the reels that we have on the back of the shelter. The bigger one there is holding I think it's 3/8 inch polyethylene, kind of more of a rubbery style hose. There's like 300 feet, I think, on that. I don't think I needed that much now after taking the birds out there, but if we extend further away from that water line going into the field, then I will need it for going back and forth through these rows. And then I have my electrical fence reel up on top there, so I'll just extend that and then connect to the hot wire so that our fence is hot. The piece on the right there is just a medicator. And that is if the big guys use them and everything. If we do need to medicate with some sort of probiotic or something like that, we have that capability. I think this was a video, but it doesn't look like it's coming up. Is anything happening there, Lauren?
Nope. There's something happened. We went from white to black screen.
Yeah, I wonder what.
Error occurred. There it's trying to play something.
So, yeah, here we're just moving it out to the. I think that was all that. So, yeah, we're just moving the shelter out to the corn there, the strip. That I wish I could pause on that or whatever, but you saw that bar that goes in kind of right below the tractor there. That's so that we don't pinch the
Birds.
shelter. Yeah, otherwise if we pulled on it too hard, then it would all the force would want to shove that inward, and so that bar kind of keeps the pressure out. Everything is connected, so everything's connected by chain. All the feeders are here, are all connected, and they're just on skids. The obviously like you saw, the water lines are all connected. They're all hanging off the side of the shelter. This had to be easy, otherwise it wasn't going to be done. I know my dad was already shaking his head at me about how this is going to take so much time. So I needed to figure something out that you could back it to the tractor, you hook it on with the clevis, and you pull it, and you're done. Obviously, then we'll get to the fencing or whatever, but that's a whole different story. But this slide here is just we didn't fill the feeders because we didn't know how much weight and if it would be hard on the feeders to pull them. So we only filled them about half to quarter, something like that.
I think we're losing you about, Robbie.
And we probably won't.
We just lost your screen. I think we lost you completely. Are you there yet, Robbie?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep. We lost you at filling the feeders.
Okay. And what do you have on your screen right now?
You're not sharing now.
This is fun.
I think you turned your camera off too, so.
Yeah, it does look like that. It says that it's getting used by other things or whatever on this computer. There you go. I guess I see them back. But then, okay.
Yeah, you might want to shut your camera off and save a little bandwidth.
Okay, I'll go back to that. Can you see my?
It's coming up again. Says you're sharing. There it is. We're back. If you want to shut your camera off to save a little bandwidth.
Okay. I'll shut that off.
Maybe you're coming through again. There you go. Coming through smooth. Try
Okay.
it now.
Now you got the feeders now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, where did I leave off there, Lauren? What did you just?
You were about halfway filling the feeders, so they didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Right. So we didn't know if we should be filling them full just because we didn't know how hard it would be on the feeders and stuff. Didn't want to break anything right away. And then I think the truck situation, we won't be using this truck every time. Whenever it's dry, I think we'll be able to use it. But otherwise, we'll have to hook up to the portable mill with the tractor and back that out there to do that. So here we got it moved into the alfalfa strip. And I haven't hooked up any of the fencing yet here, but here, so I took some drone photos of that here just a morning ago or whatever it was. Bunch of fog set in on the river bottom. So we had to mow underneath this. So I'd take our big lawnmower out there and just mowed so that we wouldn't short out on anything. and then setting this up. So the dimensions of this, they're 164 foot by roughly 60 foot because you got the corn row in there. And so we just included the 12 rows of corn and then the 30-foot strip of alfalfa there for this first time. Yeah, let's see. Because originally I was going to include 2 corn strips, 12 rows, and then this go in the middle. But we decided to kind of just take it easy here the first year, not jump to too much. So here we're loading them up just yesterday. They're 9-week-old birds. They're just about 9 weeks old. I didn't want to do this right away. I wanted to just let them out of the barn because the corn wasn't too far away from this. But then Dad talked me in otherwise, and I think it ended up being probably better just because we got them out into the corn quicker. So just I think we were fitting roughly 200, 250 on this little load, or this is how we move birds from barn to barn. It's nothing fancy. And then dropping them off at the location, flag them off. I think the next one is a video, but I'm not going to go to that because I feel like I lost signal there the last time, Lauren. So I'm going to skip over it. But all it was just a video of us chasing them off.
It's
Okay,
going to try to play anyway if you want to go jump to the next slide. But they're out in the corn now. They're out in the corn now.
Yeah. So they initially when we dropped them off, everybody was kind of like, what the hell is going on type of thing. And they all kind of went to that shelter because that's what they were used to. But then it only took them, half hour, 45 minutes to realize, like, hey, we'll spread out and start going at some weeds and some alfalfa and whatnot. And they're picking at it pretty good. And, they trample. I think Drew, you were talking about that too, but there's 2,000 birds out on this 164 by 60. When we saw that, both Dad and I are like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have brought them all out here. But I think I ended up buying actually more of the netting. So I think we're going to try to lengthen that out a little bit more and give them more space. But it will be a good little experiment to see, what these 2,000 birds will do on this small of area. The one thing I worried about is I already had one bird get its leg caught in this netting. And luckily I was there or whatever, and I saw it happen, and otherwise he'd have been shocked to death. But it's stuff like that worries me a little bit. And so I don't know how what I've heard in the past is that turkeys are the one animal that doesn't quite get the electric netting. And I'm like, that's great. But so they're just not very intelligent animals. And so that's going to be a little bit of a struggle here. Hopefully they get it by, the couple moves or whatever. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. They've obviously found the corn rows. I was a little bit worried that they'd be too big to fit between the corn to, go like left to right here. So I was wondering if I had to leave openings on each end, so that they could get in there. But there's definitely gaps and whatnot that they were able to get through. And I haven't looked at it today, obviously, but I'll go down there and we'll see what kind of impact they made on all that. And then, back to the interseeding portion. This is what it looked like here the other day. Again, really sparse and thin, and I think the shade and whatnot is what's not allowing it to thrive or whatever. But I'm sure Bobby could talk about the 60-inch rows. I suppose that's the way that we should be doing it. And but so maybe next year we'll try something like that. And that corn doesn't look too bad. This is not like a real fertile field, pretty sandy. So the fertility is kind of lacking a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see what, year to year as we move the structure and, all the manure and whatnot that they put down as far as fertilizer to see what, the next year's corn crop will be, because we'll eliminate the having to spread manure. I just did a little, this is kind of our expenses and whatnot that we have so far with it, where all that money went from Ag Vantage or from you guys, Lauren. But yeah, the turkeys were obviously fairly expensive. The structures was, I mean, nothing is terrible, but it all adds up. I mean, you could just look at it from there, but well, the netting was pretty, that's substantial. I mean, that part can kind of hit hard, I guess, if, you know, we continue to buy more of that. But yeah, but so it's not too bad. I was happy to have the help from you guys for that grant and whatnot that was able to get this done, type of thing. But let's see here. That is
The
basically
dog
it.
collars, have you put dogs to work on this?
Yeah, so I haven't. The dog collars are on our dogs. We've got 2 dogs. They're both Great Pyrenees mix, and I need, as of right now, they had an underground fence that they're used to, and so I have to break them of that. So I've got to haul them out to the birds here. I was going to do that today, and just to get them used to, like, hey, I can cross this barrier now, because the dog collars that we went with, I think it's called like Pet Safe or something like that. And so it has like a central hub that then broadcasts your, it's all GPS though. Then after that kind of, you can make your own space, make your own area. So I gave them access to that whole field out there. And so I just got to get them used to that now. So that'll be hopefully not too bad.
What is the job that the dogs are doing?
So yeah, any predatory type stuff. I know the netting probably takes care of 90% of that or whatnot, but I was a little bit worried about predators testing the fence, you know, and whatnot. So if the dogs are out there, they're hopefully going to be spreading their scent and barking and whatnot, and that's usually what keeps any sort of predator away. At least that's, I mean, we haven't seen a coon in our area on the farm there where the dogs are at, and that's a game changer as far as them just, you know, shitting on everything and ripping open bags and everything. It's just, the dogs were money well spent that way. And the reason we got the dogs originally was because we had a fox get in one of our outdoor paddocks of the bigger flock, and they killed 70 birds in one night. And so I thought, well, that's, you know, organic birds, and well, that's a lot of money. You know, we can invest in dogs to try to, you know, keep everything away. And that definitely worked. So they're just another insurance type thing to try to keep the predators away. And I thought that maybe that the aerial predators would be a problem too. And obviously I don't know yet or not, but I think dogs would be a fairly decent one for that, because you'll see them barking, you know, if something flies over and whatnot. So if you can get them bonded to that, you know, turkey flock or whatever, then I think that we'll be pretty safe that way.
And the dog collar, is this like the cattle collars? You said GPS, so you can move them, that sort of thing?
Correct. Yeah, they're a little bit different. They're more based towards dogs as far as their, you know, fast movement, maybe a little more shock power or whatever it is. Because I really had a hard time deciding on which way to go with this. I even talked to the people at No Fence to see if, you know, hey, can I run these, you know, cow collars basically on the dogs, because I've heard of people doing that before because they're running sheep and they use the collars for the dogs as well. They said that you had to buy 5 because they don't sell them in individuals. And so that was like, oh shoot, I don't want to do that. But also they could not insure you at all as far as if something went wrong. They haven't made these for dogs yet, I guess is what I'm getting at. So this was the best option. All the other ones like Halo Collar, Spot On, a couple other ones were, the battery life was just shit on them. So there was only like a day or two that they would last. And so these ones I found, and they actually last about 5 days, which was good. But then that meant I needed to buy 3 collars, because I always have to have one charging while the other ones are being used. Because it's not like I'm bringing these dogs in that night. They need to be out 24/7, you know, with that. So that was kind of frustrating. I haven't found the most ideal thing there. I think that they will come out with them. I think that No Fence was working on something like that, but it hasn't come out yet. But yes, it's basically the same thing as your cattle collars. I don't move them. I just set up a perimeter. That's all I do. I don't really ever change that, or I haven't. I could, but I don't do it day to day like a cattle one would.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thought I had Robbie on the electric netting. Next, if you ever do this again, could you have like a setup in the brooder building so they got used to the netting first?
That would have been a smart thing to do, Lauren. Yes, yes. That's what we do with like our pastured hog operation, is that I'll run an electric wire inside the hoop barn that we start them in. And so then they get acclimated to that, and they know now that's like, oh shit, I'm not touching that type of thing. So yes, that would have been the right thing to do. Everything just got pushed back this year, and I was just trying to think of how the hell can I get this done the quickest type of thing. But yes, you're exactly right. I think that would be a good step going forward for the future, just to get them acclimated to it.
Now, did I understand that the turkey has the choice of going into the corn or into the pasture?
Absolutely.
How did they decide? How have they decided how they vote?
Yeah. So as of right now, you know, they were, I think, a little timid, trying to get back to that drone shot that I got here, but I think they were a little bit timid to go in the corn right away because they didn't quite know what the heck it was. And everybody wanted to hang out underneath that shelter there. But as they get more used to it, and there's not enough shelter space for them. So on a sunny day and whatnot, they're going to have to use the corn for shade. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, they have access obviously to that 12 rows of corn that's then 164 feet long. And then they have access to the same side there, obviously, with the alfalfa. But that shade structure is only 32 foot by, what is it? I think 16 is the base. 16 foot is the base, but I think it hangs over for about 20. So shade-wise, 32 by 20 under that. And then it's got roost space underneath that. We may need to put some more roost space and whatnot underneath that. So yeah, they can choose exactly wherever they want to go. And we just got them out yesterday, so I wasn't able to observe too much. But a lot of them made it into the corn, so I was happy to see that. And they were picking at all this this buttonweed here. So that was kind of nice to see that they were getting after that. But they were picking at a lot of the corn leaves too. So that's going to bring me back to like when we will actually do this right next year. If we get them out there at the specific time when I want to, as far as the corn being about knee high, are they going to damage that crop? That'll be yet to be seen.
Corn rows, are they north or south?
This is
West.
It's more of a east-west. Yeah, kind of in between, Lauren.
Yeah, well, I think it was the last picture you had there. It looked like they were in the shade area of the corn already. So
yeah,
it's going to be fun watching and learning with you. So
yeah. So I'm already thinking I need to get. I bought more of the fencing, like I was saying. So I think I'm going to extend that and make it a little bit bigger, just because I feel like it's a little tight. But again, we'll just observe and watch and take notes as far as how does it look, after they leave that space. Also, I was thinking about the shelter. If they're going to be pounding that shelter, I think, Drew, you were saying the same thing, that's usually where the most manure load is at. It's almost like we have to be moving that a little bit more often, even yet, than maybe the fencing. So if there's some sort of drag system that I could hook up that I don't have to go into the pen and I can drag it from a chain underneath, that's all yet to be decided on, and just we got to learn from doing, but yeah, I don't want an excess of nitrogen in these spots, because then I'm going to be growing weeds, and I don't want that. That's the one thing nice about spreading, with a fertilizer spreader. You can spread it exactly to where you want it, but that costs money too. So we'll just trial and error, I guess.
cool. Any questions?
I found Stock Cropper's Facebook page. Now I'm really excited about getting their iPhone controlled unit. But it doesn't look like it's big enough to move that.
Yeah. Yeah, we were worried a little bit about the weight of this. But I mean, we have a big, loader tractor and whatnot, so it pulled it just fine, actually.
So you're thinking you would move the shelter within the field space. So you've got the fencing defining a fairly larger field area, and then you just move the shelter because of the nitrogen considerations.
Yeah, I think that if I extend the netting, so let's say that I add another 100-foot net to this or whatever, I would maybe just, move the shelter more often. Let's say that the netting stayed for, a week or a week and a half, maybe longer, whatever. But then every day, every other day, then I would just move that shelter within that specific space versus having to move the netting each time, because I'm already complaining about the netting and having to use that. Plus the areas in which you have to go, and get back to that drone shot again, but you have to go through the corn. That part kind of sucked because it, you're knocking down. I gotta go the other way. You're knocking down corn just to, get the fence through. So I think in the future, if we could get a good dimension on, like how far do we want each paddock to go, then I can just leave strips, to make that cross section here. I don't show it. I wish I would have gone a little bit further here in this right picture, but yeah, you got to obviously go through the corn to put that fence up. And then with also another problem that I've seen is that with our cultivation practice there, that hiller caused there to be, some gaps underneath that fence. And so I worried about, okay, is this enough gap where a coon or something could get underneath? And so I ended up taking a shovel out there and just kind of, leveling some of that area out. But obviously for this first time, we don't know what our paddock sizes were going to be. So I didn't want to go leave a whole bunch of gaps out there in the field. But so that's all going to have to be learned here on as far as, how big of paddocks do we want to use and where those, I may leave like a 6-foot gap there that just stays in alfalfa or something. And that way I can run my fence across that. That'll be, again, yet to be decided.
What I would be watching is how they migrate towards the canopy there. If they come back to that all the time and you just move the canopy, could you get by with just a perimeter fence around the whole block?
Yeah, so that's a great point, Lauren, and that is actually the initial when you sent me the discovery trial thing. That was initially what I wanted to do, was just put a perimeter fence around this whole damn field, and then just of woven wire or whatever, which was going to be fairly expensive, but then that would save you the time and the money that you have into this netting. And so ideally, that's what I would have liked to have done, because then you wouldn't have had to done anything with this netting. And then all you'd have had to do is just pull the structure. And normally, you're exactly right, too, that they will find the structure, the food, the water. They're going to stay around that. They're not going to venture off too far from that. So in the end, long-term goal, I feel like that would have been, or that is kind of the ideal of what, may happen in the future is actually throwing a bunch of money at this and putting that perimeter fence and then getting these birds out here. But in the end, and I don't know if I want to go as far, but this has to be profitable. I mean, we're making good money on these organic birds by raising them in the barns and outdoor access and whatnot. This is just throwing another job on top of what we're already doing. So time-wise, it's a struggle, as well as we're not getting any more money for these ones than we are the others. So that's a little bit frustrating, because it's like we're going to be putting way more time into these birds. And I think it's going to be a healthier product in the end, but we have to find that market for that. And I have not found that yet. The company that we sell all the other birds to is called Pittman out of California. And we did talk to them about this, but they said that they already have their amount that they need for pasture-based birds. Now, if they saw this, or if they see this and think that they can provide a market for it, then that would be awesome, because it's going to take more labor and more time and whatnot from us. And I like working, but I'd like to get paid for it too. So
I think this is a nice blend. Have you watched Pasture Bird yet?
I've not.
Guy down south is doing this. I mean, he's using greenhouse structures, and then they move the whole building every so often,
Huh.
and the litter kind of spreads throughout the field as you're going. So, but like I said, I love the aspect of getting them in the corn and that. And I think I do have it lined up. The gal will be down here, I think it's September, hopefully. I might get her out there, but we might be able to get you the nutrient density samples and that.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It
Oh, that
should
would
be
be
about
awesome.
September. So, any other questions for Robbie?
Yeah, Robbie, have you thought about using the broad-breasted bronze instead of the white?
Yeah, I think that they would work better in this type of system just because I think they're more naturally adapted to this. And these the Nicholas breed here is pretty much your couch potato sit in the barn type of breed, that they're just trying to breed a bigger, faster, fatter, cheaper type of thing, so they don't their genetics and whatnot, they've lost a lot of that. And so having the bronze birds out here would be ideal as well. But I think was I talking to Dad about it too, and we were looking at the difference in cost, and I think these birds are like $1.40 something, $1.50 or whatever to buy, and I think those ones were, I thought it was like $5 or more or something like that, like extreme. And maybe there's different types that are better, or different companies that you can buy from or whatever, but it just seemed like, ooh, that'd be pretty steep. I'd be worried to lose any of those damn birds. But you're exactly right. I think that would be more of the mindset to take in a system like this, that they would benefit more from this than these Nicholas birds. Even though
And
I've
I
heard
guess
other.
the question is always, do you have a market for them? Will Pittman buy the bronze, or do they only buy white?
True. Yeah. I don't know that. We did not ask them those questions. We didn't get to that. But yeah, that's a good point. Could we talk to them to be like, hey, can we raise a different style of bird that may bring a different market to your system there? That may be a good strategy. Yeah.
I seen Jack on. Jack, are you thinking how can the Poultry Patrol robot pull a barn?
I think Stock Crapper has that covered, and the two other options you were talking about, I definitely see the vision in it being a good synergy, and I'd love to see what how I've seen what Heavy Toms do in some other pasture systems, so I'm curious how big the corn has to be before they stop stepping on it. But yeah, I'm excited to see what might be next.
Hey, Robbie, this is Jason.
Yeah.
Just something to think about. When we turn birds out, we'll have water hemp that has grown up in the yard, or giant ragweed. Those birds will leave those bigger plants alone for a little while, and you'll even see the stalk standing, but they will strip those leaves. So that might be a test or something to look at on how quickly you move that barn, to whether or not they're stripping your bottom storehouse or moving that barn faster. Maybe they leave it alone. I mean, with raising turkeys, we both know they're like children. So when they get focused on something, they just don't stop. They peck at a spot of light on the bottom that's shining through a hole in the barn and dig a hole. So maybe moving that barn faster, they'll leave those leaves alone and not strip that corn plant. And
Yeah.
on that note, another thing I thought is maybe this would work better in sunflowers, because I think those guys even like the bottom leaves stripped off for air movement, so you're not as apt to get a fungus.
Huh. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
And I know from speaking with Zach, when he started out with the stock cropper, I think he was using a wench with a giant post or stake driven in the ground out in front of it, and then just turning the wench on to move that.
Yeah, I feel like this would be a little heavy for that, but still something to think about. Yeah.
And you said there was going to be wheat there next year.
So we haven't really decided on how we're going to go back now like these corn rows are going to go back into some sort of, grain or whatever with an underseeding, because as of right now, these fields came out of alfalfa that were established here. That's been the third year now. And so it'll be a little bit different now if we then switch the shed or the portable structure now over to the left there where the corn is. I haven't decided what mix I want to use for that in the spring. It'll be probably some sort of oat with an underseeding of, clovers or alfalfa or whatever. But that'll take time to establish too. So yeah, I'm a little bit fuzzy on what I want to do there.
And my thought was with your fear of it there being too much nitrogen, and I guess without running the test, we don't know how much is going to be distributed, but you could, I imagine copper sulfate is okay in your organic program.
Yep.
But our copper levels are rising in our fields from our turkey manure that we spread because we run copper sulfate. And it is a pretty big supplemental thing in the turkey industry. Myron has talked to a lot of guys out east that use it quite frequently in their birds.
Right.
So extra copper is going to help your cells in your grass crop become more flexible and not tip and go down next year.
Right. Lodging and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Very cool. One other thing, just looking at this now, what I already think that I would like to do differently is that the water line and the electrical line there all go from, to the left from the structure there, that there's a main line over on that side, a fence line with a water line underneath it. I think it would be better to run it back towards us here this way. If you're looking at that left picture, that way it could just be extended. I just having to go through the corn for all this is frustrating. It just takes time to get through it. And then the electrical part, I got to make sure that it's not grounded out on too much there. So I just didn't want to invest too much money into it here this first year, as far as all the water line that you would need to go down this strip, which is actually around 2,000 feet, this corn strip here. So, but again, just modifications and changes and trials and error and stuff. I think it'll help.
Any other questions, or I'm gonna pause recording here if I can find the right button. My screen changed now.